Time to cue in another cruise vlog. It has not been long since I came back from being at sea, but it is time for a new adventure. I am on cruise number 27 and we are on Fred Olsen Bolette. We are going to sail around Cornwall, Dorset and France, and of course I am going to bring you along for the ride. If you're new around here, my name is Victoria. I started cruising over a decade ago at the age of 19. And I was absolutely convinced that I was going to hate it. Prior to boarding my first ship, I was utterly convinced that cruising was for the newlywed and the nearly dead, and I was proven very, very wrong. Very wrong. Hence my current cruise addiction. And since I was converted to the cruise life, I've spent a lot of time trying to convert other people to the cruise life, trying to show them how much fun it is and what a great way to see the world it is. So I hope you stick around, whether that's to see Fred Olsen, whether that's to see my ports of call, whether that's to see what life is like on board a ship. Around here, we focus on the fact that cruising is not as stuffy and old-fashioned as you think. So I'll be showing you how I dress on board, what the food is like on board, what things I get up to on board, so like what activities, and of course I will show you all of our ports of call as well as some of my more disastrous moments along the way. I will probably end up with hilarious stripy sunburn that looks like a zebra, and if you want evidence of said hilarious sunburn, if you flick back on my channel to the Norway vlog I posted on Sky Princess, you will see that looking like a drumstick squashy is pretty much the standard for me. I hope you stick around. One of the biggest misconceptions about cruising is that we almost wear our ball gown or we almost wear our tuxedo every evening. So every time I cruise, I do outfits of the evening to show you that we don't need to stress about what we're packing in our suitcase, and being you and being comfortable is absolutely fine. So outfit of the evening, night one, my polo is from Primark, as is my skirt. Skirts do cause a bit of controversy because, strictly speaking, men can't wear shorts in the dining room, but I'm a woman and there is no rule against me doing it. On my feet I'm wearing nude Adidas Gazelles from the children's section because I have tiny feet. My glasses are Ray-Ban, I need them to see, they're not a fashion statement. Little necklace is from an independent jewellery designer in Edinburgh called Rosie Brown. Claddagh ring is from the Shambles in York. Pandora I've worn every day since I was 15. And on my ankle I'm wearing an anklet from Amazon that my best friends bought me, and it is Morse code for the word strength. I am off to dinner now, dinner night one, and then we will be doing the quiz because when we're on Fred Olsen we're always addicted to trivia, and then we're going to hit up the theatre and see what Bolette's showcast is like. I can't say I have much faith for that because if you've watched my previous Fred Olsen vlogs you'll know that I have a lot to say about Fred Olsen's theatre entertainment and it is never good, but we are going to keep giving them chance after chance after chance to see if they can fix it. So I will tell you tomorrow or later on about how I found that, but right now I'm going to go enjoy dinner night one. See you later. sea, we are going to talk about last night's theatre experience as promised, because it was not a vibe, guys. It was not a vibe. Now, if you've watched my original Fred Olsen vlog, my first ever one from last August, I talked about how Fred Olsen should really buy the rights to theatre shows in the same fashion that Royal Caribbean do or Norwegian Cruise Line do. Now, they've sort of heard me. So last night they did a theatre show and it was called Music and Lyrics, and they were singing songs from musicals. Now, I am all for that. I love a good musical. They were singing songs by Elton John or Stephen Schwartz, and the songs themselves were being sung really well, and obviously they're really lovely songs because they're from some of my favourite musicals, but the whole theatre experience still isn't working. So last night the cast, who are lovely and talented by the way, it's nothing to do with Fred Olsen's cast, it's to do with what they're given. Last night the cast were singing things like The Lion King, Wicked, Godspell, all whilst wearing pink sparkly dresses and dinner jackets and dicky bows, and it was just the most bizarre combination. When somebody stood on stage belting out The Lion King and they're wearing a pink sparkly dress and a dinner jacket, a cummerbund and a dicky bow, it just doesn't work. So Fred Olsen is getting there. They've improved like the musical experience, they haven't improved the overall staging experience. The costuming, still odd. The choreography, still downright bizarre. I have not seen anybody do a jazz hand or a jazz square since like the 90s, but Fred Olsen's cast were doing it last night. Now, I understand that that's not the cast's problem. The cast do not choreograph their own show. The cast do not come up with their own costuming, but somebody from Fred Olsen, please sort it out, please. I think Fred Olsen uses an external company for their performances, like to make their shows for them, and I don't know how much money they're paying them, but I feel like they shouldn't be paying them at all, or they should be paying them something like 50p. It is the first day at sea aboard Fred Olsen Bolette. We are sailing through the Celtic Sea, like I mentioned earlier, on our way to Portland in Dorset, and I have already joined in some of the cheesy activities around the ship. So this morning I've already been to the Colour New demonstration, been golf putting, done the quiz, stared at the crossword, which we can never think of the answers to, even though there is 3 sets of brain power. And of course, I filmed clips of all of those things so that I will insert them for you and I will bring you along for the rest of the day. I'm particularly excited because I've heard that there's pizza for lunch, and one of my biggest complaints about Fred Olsen is that they, for some reason, never serve pizza. So if it is pizza for lunch, I will be very excited. Of course I will show you. Of course I will talk to you later on all about dress code, because tonight is formal night, and I hope you enjoy watching what I get up to today. night 2. There is every chance I'm going to fall over in this clip because my cabin is as far forward as you can go on the ship and we are swaying a lot. We just hit a wave with such aggression that quite frankly it sounded like we'd run over a whale. Tonight is formal night. If you're new to cruising, formal night is a nod to golden age cruising of the past, where in the past everybody would wear their tuxedo or their ball gown every evening. Now cruise lines have formal night once or twice a week, where everybody dresses up as a nod to the golden age of cruising. You don't have to dress up if you don't want to. If you don't want to put your formal clothes on, you can just dress normally and pop yourself up to the buffet. But I have come to like dressing up a couple of times a week for formal night. So I've curled my hair with one of those miraculous like TikTok shop creations where it doesn't need a wire, because one of the things I discovered the first time I sailed Fred Olsen was that the electric in the cabin isn't actually good enough to run a curler or run a straightener. I have learnt my lesson. I now turn up with wireless hair tools. My red dress is from Boohoo. You've seen me wear versions of this in other colours if you watch my other vlogs. I'm wearing all the same jewellery as last night because I don't pack any, I just board with it. I've got a little hairband in my hair from Shein, little diamond flowers, and my heels are tiny 1-inch heels from Topshop, so they're very old because obviously Topshop doesn't exist anymore. We are going to go to the captain's welcome party where they give out like canapes and cocktails and stuff. Then it'll be formal dinner and then we'll see what we get up to entertainment wise. It'll probably be the quiz followed by some live music, but of course I'll share that with you. I look thoroughly windswept because it is the Great British Seaside and we have had sunshine, rain and wind all in the same day, but I've of course arrived to tell you what we got up to in Portland, to show you some clips of that and to give you some advice about if you're in a ship that's calling here in the future. So the first thing you need to know is that you're not actually allowed to walk on the dock at Portland. It is a working dock, which means you have to catch a bus to get yourself off the dock. That bus will be provided by the cruise line and the bus has 2 stops. At the first stop you will find Portland Castle, which is owned by English Heritage, and you have to pay a small fee to get in. Of course, if you have an English Heritage membership at home, then entrance would be free. At the first stop there is also a D-Day museum. Entrance to the D-Day museum is free, but it is run by a team of volunteers and obviously they would love a contribution to the upkeep of the museum. Second stop on the bus is Weymouth, and Weymouth has absolutely blown my mind. It is like the land that time forgot. It is reminiscent of the golden age of British seaside in the early 1900s, when everybody would have gone on a British seaside holiday on the train, packed up their trunk and lived their days on the sand. Unlike many British seaside resorts around England, Scotland, Wales that have become neglected over time, Weymouth still remains absolutely pristine, and you will see that in some of the clips that I filmed for you. After we'd had a good wander around Weymouth and admired its beauty and been caught in a downpour that left us all soaking wet, we've hopped back on board. We had Sunday lunch for lunch because Fred Olsen makes a banging Sunday dinner, like I will not lie. It is absolutely elite. And we are now going to go do afternoon trivia, because trivia on Fred Olsen is utterly addictive, even if sometimes you're awful at it. And when I say awful, I'm not exaggerating. A couple of nights ago we got 4. Outfit of the night 3. I've got curly hair again, slightly more of a disaster this time because I forgot to charge the curler. We've had a right faff with it, but once you've started your head, you can't exactly stop and have half a curly head and half a straight head. All the same jewellery as normal and same glasses as normal. I'm wearing a little shell dress from H&M, which is so on brand for cruising and so cute. And on my feet I'm wearing a Zara kids sandals with little raffia fronts. Tonight we are going to hit up the buffet for dinner because we don't really like the dining room menu, and of course that's part of the joy of the flexibility of cruising, that you can eat wherever you like on board. Then we're going to do evening trivia, and then we'll probably either listen to music or go to bed like the old people we are, because tonight's theatre entertainment is a magician and I absolutely hate magicians. I have tried watching several over the years on various different cruise lines and I never find them amusing. I'm not sure anybody finds them amusing. If you like magicians, can you tell me in the comments below, because I need to know these people exist. I'm not sure they actually do. Please reveal yourself. Things that have fascinated me today, because I figure since you lot follow me, you're probably just as fascinated by ships as I am. You're probably as much of a nerd as I am. So today we're in Saint-Malo in Brittany, which is a region of France, and we are tendering today. Now, every time I have tendered on a ship previously, our captain has dropped the anchor and then he's used his bow thrusters essentially to stop himself swinging round and around the anchor chain if there is current. Today, when we got back on the ship and the tender pulled up, I realised that we hadn't done that, and we are essentially tied to a giant cleat in the middle of the sea. And when I tell you, I am absolutely fascinated by how our captain managed to manoeuvre himself to be parked perfectly next to this giant cleat so that the deck crew could throw lines towards it and get them tied on. So just in case you're as nerdy as me and you find these things as interesting as me, I have filmed said giant cleat for your amusement. If any of you work in like the maritime industry or know how this works, can you please tell me in the comments below, because I would be absolutely fascinated to know how this whole operation occurred. Like, I cannot imagine in the middle of the night, in the pitch black, our captain trying to tie Bolette to a giant cleat. Someone let me know how it happens, please. I do for YouTube, just know that I'm standing opposite a door, so if anybody opens this door to the outside deck and I'm stood here talking to this camera, I'm sure they will think many judgmental things, but it is the only place you can hear me without either the wind howling or me constantly being whipped in the face by my hair, like that, right on cue. Today we are in Saint-Malo, Bretagne. Bretagne is a region of France, and I've never been here before, and it is absolutely beautiful. Saint-Malo is a fortified town, so they have a big set of walls around the outside and the town has been built in the middle, and it is an absolute fairy tale, picturesque French town. It is everything you would see in holiday brochures, in fairy tale books, on the TV. Just wandering around the city is an amusing pastime in its own right, because there is so much to look at and to admire. To just wander down little cobblestone streets, admire the beautiful architecture, pop in and out of shops that are selling French delicacies, and once you've tired of doing that, the city walls are still fully accessible, so you can go up a flight of steps and wander all the way around the top of the city walls. Once you get to the top of the city walls, you will realise that below the city, on the outside of the walls, there is the most beautiful beaches. They honestly rival the Caribbean. I was so impressed by how blue the water was, considering that we're in France. We're hardly somewhere like crazily exotic. I have of course filmed lots of footage for you so you can admire it alongside me. I will pop that in after I finish speaking to you, but first we need to talk about the tender ride back, because I filmed some footage of that as well, because it was wild. Now, this sea behind me looks quite calm, and I think it is quite calm. Like, I've been in much worse seas, but when we drove the tender back across from Saint-Malo, we couldn't unload the tender because there was 2 tenders already at Bolette's entrance, like tender platforms, and we had to wait. Now, I'm a lovely patient egg, I can wait, that's fine. So the member of the crew driving our tender drove our tender around the back of the ship, and we waited for about 15 to 20 minutes But during that waiting time, we essentially just had to sit in the swell, and I have filmed a clip of the tender going up and down, up and down, and I was absolutely fine, but half the tender were going very, very green in the face. So I have filmed that as well. I will tag that on the end of the footage of Saint-Malo for your amusement. Let me know, guys, in the comments how you would have fared. Would you have been absolutely fine like me, just a little bit bored, nothing else? Or would you have been going positively green with motion sickness? Of the night 4. Apologies if I fall over in this clip. It's a bit rough and ready. We've got 2 metre swells and 22 knot winds, and my cabin is all the way forward, so I might fall over. Apologies if I do. I'm wearing all the same jewellery as normal. I never changed that. This little white dress, see, there we go. This little white dress is from a brand called Yummy or Yumi. I'm not quite sure how we say it. I have been wearing this dress for 11 years now because I got it at the age of 20 and I'm 31, and it is still in service. It is done pretty much every white hot night on any cruise I've ever been on. On the bottom, I'm just wearing a little brown sandals. Those are Primark, but they're Primark kids specifically because I have little feet, and kids shoes are just much comfier. I'm filming this slightly backwards tonight, so we've already been to dinner. We lazed around the cabin a bit, so we rushed out to dinner and this hadn't been filmed, so I've popped back to film it, and now I'm going to pop up and do nighttime trivia. Thoughts and prayers for me, guys, because afternoon trivia is a gift. Like, we won afternoon trivia today, that is fine. Evening trivia is so hard. So one night this week we got 4, last night we got 7.5. Evening trivia seems to be our nemesis, so thoughts and prayers, cross your fingers for me. Let's see if I can do a little bit better this evening. is this little information board by Fred Olsen. So obviously we get the cruise news into our cabin every night that tells us the itinerary for the day, tells us all about where we're going, but this little notice board is near guest services in case we need any more information. So it's telling us about Honfleur, which is today's port, and then if we move across it tells us about Fowey, which is tomorrow's port. If we keep going, it's telling us some general information about where we can take excursions in Fowey. It's telling us where the tender pontoon will be so that we don't get lost. And then right down here, it's reminding us that we need a tender ticket from about 8 in the morning till 11. After that, it's open tender. And it is really helpful if you are a bit confused about how a tender works. I remember the first time I cruised, I was absolutely convinced that to board the tender, I would have to climb down a rope ladder on the side of the ship. But this is showing guests exactly what the tender platform looks like if they're a first-time cruiser, and it's advising that you have to go down around roughly 20 steps to get into the tender. But there is a handrail and there is 2 members of the crew. There's an example at the bottom to help you out. From Honfleur, we're chatting inside today because the town is beautiful but the dock is very, very industrial, and you would either hear clattering and banging from various cargo containers or you would be looking at a scrapyard, and I just don't think that's what you want to look at in life. So I've brought you to the glittery wall. You will be familiar with this if you've watched my other Fred Olsen vlogs. Honfleur is in Normandy and I've never been before. I knew of its existence because when we run school trips to the battlefields and for the children to study D-Day, etc., we often bring them to Honfleur on like a day trip so they can have a look around, have some time off away from learning about history. But I personally had never been, and it is beautiful. It is absolutely stunning. If you're in this part of the world, I highly recommend that you visit. It is like stepping straight into the pages of a fairy tale. I felt like I had stepped straight into Beauty and the Beast to be swept away in the Disney magic. So of course I will leave you with some clips of that so you can appreciate it with me. You can get swept away in that Disney magic momentarily, and I will talk to you later on about life on board and about what we're doing this evening. Is another Fred Olsen feature which my little ship nerd heart absolutely adores. It tells you where all the ships are in the fleet. So Bolette, we are BT, that little navy blue icon down there, we're in Honfleur. Borealis, the little red icon that says BS, is in Reykjavik, Iceland, and Balmoral is cruising. You can just about see her little teal icon behind Bolette's. She is near the bottom half of the United Kingdom. Outfit of the night, night 5, because this cruise is going far too fast. I'm wearing all the same jewellery as normal, and then I'm just wearing this little red summer dress from New Look, and on my feet I'm wearing the Zara kids sandals that I was the other day. We are going to head to dinner, and then of course we'll be going to evening trivia, even though we are awful at it. Not sure what we're going to do afterwards. There is a silent disco going on board tonight, but that really isn't my vibe. I was raised to be a bit of a clean freak, and the idea of wearing headphones that everybody else has worn gives me the ick. pray, cross our fingers that I'm in shot, that you can hear me, that this isn't all blurry. We are in Cornwall. It is absolutely glorious weather and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here. I have wanted to come to Cornwall for absolutely years and I just never have, because one, I'm northern and it's very far away, and two, it's very expensive to visit if you're coming here on a land holiday. I could probably get 3 or 4 cruises for the amount of money it would cost me to come to Cornwall. So the fact that Fred Olsen on this itinerary called at Cornwall was absolutely what sold this cruise to me. We are in the little town of Fowey specifically. It's spelled F-O-W-E-Y, but it's pronounced Fowey, and I have took some adorable footage for you of the beaches and of the town and of the beautiful Bolette sitting in the port, because it's a tender port today and that almost means we get a beautiful view of the ship. And I'm going to insert all those for you now so you can feel my pure joy at visiting Cornwall for the first time. I will definitely be back. Night 6. I can't say I'm feeling the cutest. We had to rush getting ready because our bathroom flooded, like the toilet overflowed, and there was toilet water all over the floor. So we only had about an hour to get ready, but it is second formal night on Borealis. So tonight I've got straight hair. I've got a little bow in my hair, which you probably can't see very well. There we go, that's better. I'm wearing this little dress from Coast. This is quite a cute dress, but every time I wear it, I'm reminded of why I don't wear it very often. It is the definition of beauty is pain, because it is very, very itchy. It's just not a nice material to have against your skin. On my feet, I'm wearing the same little 1-inch heels. Everybody feel free to laugh at the fact that I have one sunburnt foot and one normal coloured foot, because it wouldn't be a cruise with Victoria if I didn't have sunburn that resembled a zebra. I am now off to do evening trivia We are getting better. We're getting better, guys. Last night I got 11 out of 15. There is a brain in there somewhere, and we won afternoon trivia again this afternoon. So we do have brains. We just find evening trivia really hard. On Bolette, we are sailing back towards Liverpool, and it's not very warm outside. Well, it's like 16 degrees, which I suppose is warm if you're northern and British, but it is blowing a hoolie, so there will be no relaxing on the outside decks, which is a pretty good job for me because I have sunburn from yesterday, and if there is one thing you should know about me, it is that my sunburn is never universal. It always looks like a zebra. Like, there is just red stripes or red splotches all over my body. Since we will not be relaxing on the outside decks today, we are going to take part in the ship's activities. We are going to do morning trivia first of all, because we've won morning trivia or like afternoon trivia twice now, and every time you win you get tokens, and the tokens are worth 50% off in the shop. So far we've accrued £3 worth of discount, and I am determined to get more tokens. So it'll be morning trivia first, then we're going to do golf putting, then it'll probably be lunch. I don't know what we'll get up to this afternoon, but of course, whatever it is, I will bring you along for a ride and show you plenty of sea views along the way, because the best thing about being at sea is that endless blue horizon where there is no land in sight at all. On the way back to Liverpool. It is my last day on Bolette, and we are going to have a little mini review as part of the vlog, like I did in my Sky Princess vlogs. So first of all, we are going to talk about ports. This cruise has called at Portland, Dorset, Saint-Malo in France, oh my god, what's the other one, Honfleur in France, and Fowey in Cornwall. And they have all been absolutely adorable. Sometimes when you cruise, and you will know this if you cruise all of the time, sometimes ports of call are just duds, and the cruise line takes you there and you sort of wonder why the ship is there. It is safe to say that Saint-Malo, Honfleur, Portland and Fowey were all absolutely adorable, picture postcard perfect. And even without going on any form of excursion, you're still going to find lots to do in those ports of call. We have had some great weather this week, which obviously the cruise line has no control over, but I have been grateful for. It would have been miserable if it rained on us, but we have had one like 20-minute spell of rain in a week's worth of sailing, and we have had lots of sunshine. As you can probably see by my squashy sunburn, I've just got like a red line burnt along my forehead. Next up, we are going to talk about the crew. Now, the crew on cruise ships are miraculous in so many ways. I am not sure there is many of us in the world who could be patient and enthusiastic and caring for 6 to 9 months solid whilst working on board a ship. And I have talked about previously the magic of the Olsen way, that the crew are one of the reasons you want to come back on the ship, because they greet you with such enthusiasm and such love, and it is like having a second family at sea. Having said that, we haven't found Bolette's service to be as good as on her sister ships. So in the past year we have sailed twice on Borealis, and we have found that generally speaking Borealis's service has been better than Bolette's service. Now this isn't to say that service is poor all over Bolette, but there are some pockets where they could be doing better. So for example, if you sit in the bookmark calf, service is really slow, but the waiters will be having a chat with their friends. We have asked for tables in the buffet. It's called The View on Fred Olsen, and when we've said table for 3, they've then led us to a dirty table, which obviously isn't what anyone wants. But probably the prime example of the fact that the service just hasn't been as good as on Borealis is that yesterday our toilet overflowed and was going all over the bathroom floor, and we had to report it to guest services 3 times, and it took 3 hours before anybody came to fix it, despite the fact that it was physically overflowing onto the bathroom floor. And when somebody did come to fix it, they fixed the toilet and left the toilet water all over the bathroom floor. So that was not fabulous. That is the first time though, bearing in mind this is our 3rd Fred Olsen cruise, that is the first time that we've ever encountered any sort of issue with Fred Olsen. So you do just have to put it down to these things happen, and when there is over 1,000 of you on a vessel, the crew can't please everybody all of the time. One of the things I have been very critical about on previous Fred Olsen vlogs, and very vocal about online otherwise, is that Fred Olsen's entertainment leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm sorry to say that that remains to be true. Now, our cruise director is called Brendo. I've had him on previous sailings. I absolutely love him. When we had him on Borealis in May, he was so excited to see me that he stopped running an activity, physically ran across the room and came and gave me a hug. And it's not anything against Brendo that I have an issue with Fred Olsen's entertainment. I've always had an issue with Fred Olsen's entertainment long before Brendo became a cruise director. I'm not sure who Fred Olsen's entertainment is aimed at. I have always assumed that I am too young to be the target market for Fred Olsen's entertainment. But since I started posting on YouTube and I've said various things about Fred Olsen's entertainment, I have had people double my age and older in my comments telling me that it's not my age that's the problem, and that they find Fred Olsen's entertainment to be dire as well. Now, we probably need to break that down a bit for you to understand. So theatre entertainment. The theatre entertainment on Fred Olsen is very old-fashioned. Now, the shows that the showcast do, I believe that Fred Olsen pays a separate company to come up with those. So I'm not sure how we would change that, or how Fred Olsen would change that, unless they changed the company that ran the productions. The guest acts this week have very much been not of my generation. So we have had a variety show. I was under the impression that people hadn't done variety shows since roughly World War II. We have had a magician, and I'm sure I said earlier in the vlog, I'm not entirely sure who finds magicians amusing, but it's not me. And the day after we had the magician, I was sat in the tender, and we were sat stationary in the tender for 20 minutes. I talked about that earlier in the vlog, and the man next to me in the tender was talking about the fact that the magician was so dire that he physically walked out of the theatre because he was bored rigid. So I am glad that it's not just a me issue, but I'm not sure what we can do to fix it. I don't think that I have enough clout on the internet that Fred Olsen is listening to me asking them to improve their entertainment. Daytime entertainment, there is always plenty to do. There is an artist in residence who gives talks and runs art classes. There is a lot of trivia. There has been dance classes run for line dancing and cha-cha-cha. I have missed this week the dolphin racing, which has not been present, and my mum has missed bingo, which hasn't been present, but that is one of those things you can't please everybody all of the time. There is definitely things to do when you're at sea. I would change some of them, but like I said, I don't think I'm the target demographic. We as a family are still absolutely in love with Fred Olsen Cruises. We accept them for their quirks, for their loud decor, for their loving crew, for the fact that the entertainment isn't for us, but we know that it makes some people happy, and we will be back on Fred Olsen in just 4 short weeks' time, back on Borealis for our 4th break my teeth into the dog, for our 4th Fred Olsen Cruise of the year. Outfit of the night, night 7. It is our final night on board, and I am an outfit repeater. So you have already seen this particular set of clothes that I've got on, but they were just comfortable and they made me feel really cute, so I've popped them on for the final night on board. I am just wearing the same little red new look dress and then little brown sandals from Primark. We are going to go to 6:30 trivia. We are going wild. We're going to do 6:30 trivia and 9:45 trivia, and then we're going to go for our final dinner in the dining room, and hopefully we are going to avoid any tantrums and any tears, but I make no promises, because the moment you see bags in the corridor on the last night of a cruise is honestly the saddest moment, because you know it's about to be over. But thankfully I have another cruise booked in just 4 weeks' time, so we should avoid any meltdowns, because I know that in 4 weeks' time I will be boarding Fred Olsen's Borealis to sail to Spain, and 4 weeks isn't a long time to wait. So come along with me, I'll film some trivia, I'll film my dinner, I might show you the saddest moment of the bags in the corridor, and thank you for if you have stuck along for this vlog, if you've made it all the way through to the end, if you've put up with me rambling, if you've listened to my like mad story times, I am very grateful, and if you could hit like and subscribe, I would appreciate that too.